Hello, and welcome to the Encourager Podcast, where we have encouraging conversations to help you joyfully harmonize your home and work life. I'm your host, Rebecca Scott. I'm a wife, mother, designer, coach, and author. I'm here to help encourage and empower you to confidently make decisions that work for you and your stage of life, whatever that might be. Are you ready to take your life to the next, more organized level? Are you tired of feeling overwhelmed and overstressed over all the roles you have? The Encourager Academy can help you take back the joy in these roles and help you harmonize both home and work life. The Encourager Academy online courses and coaching programs are designed to help you overcome your biggest obstacles in getting it all done by helping you navigate 5 systems: me, food, family, work, and home. Whether you're looking to improve your food system, grow your career, or strengthen your relationships with your family, we have the tools and resources you need to succeed within our Academy. I will guide you through each system with guided worksheets, lifetime access to rewatch the videos, and the encouragement you need to fulfill your roles. And with our flexible online platform, you can learn at your own pace on your own schedule. Here are just a few of the benefits of joining the Encourager Academy: lifetime access to rewatch the videos and the guided worksheets, proven strategies and techniques for overcoming overwhelm and general fatigue with all your roles, practical tools and resources for improving all your systems no matter how much or how complicated, and flexibility to learn and grow on your own schedule from anywhere. So why wait? Join the Encourager Academy today and start harmonizing both work and home life. Use the code WeGotThis to get $50 off. Visit our website at theencourageracademy.com to learn more and enroll. Okay, encouragers, on today's podcast, you are about to change things. And after I had my 250th episode, I mentioned that I'm going to end the podcast in a different way. And I'm also two different ways. One is my send-off and one is immediate action. Because I think in the world of podcasting, as amazing as it's getting and the sheer amount of shows that are out there, I love the idea of being able to take action immediately. Because we are inundated with content, and really good content. I don't mean that in a bad way, because I'm one of the content producers, right? But we are, and it's like, well, what do I do with this? And so sometimes my immediate reaction is to email myself a screenshot of that podcast. There was something in that podcast that I wanted to do. Or sometimes it's a text message to myself of like, okay, make sure you download that book. That was really interesting. So that's my immediate action after a podcast anyways. But it dawned on me like, no, we need to provide immediate action for our listeners, something that you can do within that hour to gain the momentum, or maybe it's just the clarity, because it may be more of a mindset shift than it is something to do, because we also don't always need another to do. But I do want to offer that. And today's is so good, you guys. I have one of my favorite guests on the podcast with me today, Tiffny Hagan. Welcome, Tiffny.
Hey, thank you. I love being here.
Oh, gosh. Well, you are the expert in this field. And I'm saying that. You would not say that, but you really are. It came up. This whole podcast episode is how to finally clean up your inbox.
Yeah.
Guys, it's doable. And I didn't realize how much people still struggle with it until we've been coaching together for the last 6 months. And I went, oh, I forgot people have problems with their inbox, because I've been following Tiffany's method for 10 years. I do not have a messy inbox. And I would just like to pronounce to everybody, I don't even know if I announce, not pronounce. I need to announce to everybody. I run 3 brands, and we farm, and we have construction. And so we have every email that comes with that. You can think about that would be a pretty full inbox, but mine is not. And so I love what Tiffany is going to share with us today. Her method, she gives us permissions, and she also gives us some pro tips. Because pro tips are where it's at. You're like, wait a minute, was there just a simple tip that I can take away? And Tiffany and I, thankfully, blessedly, after getting to know each other this many years and now getting to coach, I'm like, wow, we really could finish each other's sentences with how practically we think. Like, if it is too lofty, both her and I will blow smoke off that really quick. Like, no, that's not happening. So you're going to love this, because you'll be able to take away edible bites that you can start applying right away. So raise your hand, everybody, if... I don't care where you are. I don't care if you're running a treadmill. If you're like, I need to clean up my inbox. I think there's a lot of hands being raised. Okay, Tiffany, let's just start with, because I think there's 2 groups of thoughts here. There's the one that got to 1,000 emails, and then they're like, I give up. And so all they do to check their email now, I think, again, I'm just observing this through our students, is that they just search for your name. Like, okay, I sent an email. And so they're like, I'll just search for Rebecca Scott's email. I'm like, oh my gosh, really? That's how you check your email? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, good to know. Or there's the ones that have less than 100, but it's still messy. It's not organized, but they're like, I can't get over that 100 threshold. Would that be the two parties that people sit in for the most part?
That's been my experience. Okay. That's my experience, because it really is. I think when people get to that like 1,000 number or even over 100, there's that sense of, I quit. I give up.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. There is no way for me to catch up. So I'm just not even going to try. I'm just going to it's a modified behavior of, I'm just going to do what I know how to do to keep up, because I'm too, and I'm using air quotes, like I'm too busy to actually get my real work done during the day. And so I'm just going to do what I have to do to manage my inbox. So there's that train of thought. Maybe under 100 they've got it pretty well under control, but I think that there's still that method of, I'm just maintaining it based upon how I know how to maintain my inbox. Yeah. So yeah, I think those are pretty clear numbers. Those are the two camps of thought.
Yeah. I would also say this too. The reason why I think this is important is because it does begin. We talk a lot about mental bandwidth and what you have mental bandwidth for, and it should be for the things that really light you up and that use your skills and your talents and your relationships. And email is a huge suck of your mental bandwidth if you have over 1,000. Like, it stresses me out just thinking of someone with that scenario. And so I can't imagine, like, how do you sleep at night? Not that emails are that important. I get that. But it is an immediate little anxiety move when you go to check it. And someone's like, hey, did you get my email from 3 days ago? We're tuning in 5 minutes. And you're like, where do I find it? So the reason for this podcast is for you guys to walk away with some tips to like fix this problem once and for all, and to not have modified behaviors, but rather behaviors that really work. And it doesn't mean precursor. It doesn't mean zero inbox, but we'll talk about it in a bit. Okay, Tiffany, let's talk about, if you have more than 1,000 emails in your inbox, what are some immediate actions we can take?
Yeah. Well, first of all, what I would say is I always talk about and coach from a place of email is always someone else's demand on your time. So it doesn't matter if it's you emailing me and saying, hey, Tiff, do you want to do a podcast? It can be that. It can be maybe you signed up, you're scrolling through social media and you're finding like, oh, hey, there's that free checklist. I want to be on their email list. Or maybe it's just an ad of some kind. It doesn't really matter what the nature of the email is. It's always someone else's demand on your time. They're always getting in front of you. So if you think about, if you have 1,000 emails sitting in your inbox, like, what does that pressure feel like? It's tremendous, right? Because it's kind of like a growing to-do list. That's how I look at it, because it's always someone wanting something from you. Yeah. So I would kind of flip the script and say, okay, let's do some really quick things that will give you a little bit of that sense of control over your inbox. Yep. And one of my all-time favorites is just unsubscribe to 5. Yes. Unsubscribe to 5 emails that you no longer want to receive. And you need to do that. It doesn't matter if you're in Gmail, if you're in, Microsoft Inbox. It doesn't matter what your platform is, but you can sort up at the top by by who's sending it to you. Who's sending you that batch of emails. It's a really good way to just sit and look at, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I had actually gone out and like randomly signed up for all of these like free content pieces, because nothing's free, right? So it's still demanding on your time. It's still something that at one time you thought that you were going to follow up on. And most of us don't follow up on those things once we're out and download them. So the best way to look at what your behavior is, to look at your inbox is, and I use inbox just kind of as an overarching term, but looking at your inbox of, who is sending you? Who is that sender? Is it really clients? Is it really business content? Or is it just you have one inbox that just everything flows into? All of your personal, all of your business, all of your, Bath and Body Works ads, like all of those things, right? Do you just have one inbox that all of that is flowing into? But you can go to who your sender is and go to that first email, open it up, scroll to the bottom and click unsubscribe. Yeah. And then while you're in there, delete all of the emails that are from that same sender, and do that to at least 5 each day. And if you could do it 5 each day, probably within about 2 weeks, you are going to have a massively different inbox. Things are just going to look totally different than they did before.
So it's 5 senders, not necessarily 5 unsubscribe from all these.
Right. 5 senders.
Yeah. Yes. And okay, so now you have to tell them the testimony of one of our students in Clarity Blueprint, what happened for her. That was her assignment. And in fact, we didn't give it to her. She was like, this is happening. So she took it on herself. She's like, I'm going to do Tiffany's rule. I'm going to unsubscribe from 5. And then what happened?
Yes. So we came back and we said, okay, how did the last 2 weeks go? And she said, well, something to the effect of not as productive as I wanted it to be. I got the low hanging fruit, but I unsubscribed to 50. And we were like, woohoo, big celebration, because that is a huge amount. That's a huge.
Can you imagine what her email box was if there was 50 fluff? Fluff is not fair, because I'm sure there was some that made a difference. But, and then she said that was like not productive. And so Tiffany and I made sure to no, we're celebrating this. We gave her a round of applause. We're like, we just need to pause, because 50 is huge. And I can't help but think, and she said the same thing, she just started getting momentum on it by doing what Tiffany had suggested. Like, you click the sender and then she's getting it cleaned up. And we're like, that is huge. And she said, and I'm sure Kay is listening to this. Did she say in 2 or 3 days she couldn't believe the amount that her inbox, it's just gargantuan. So I have a feeling, if you do get into the rhythm of 5, that's what we recommend is 5, that it'll end up being closer to the superstar K of 50 of them.
Yeah. And I really, I'm not a huge fan of, let's go spend all day in our inbox. I'm not a huge fan of that. I am like, if you can take 10 to 15 minutes a day and do those small things to just begin your cleanup,
okay,
it becomes, take little steps and be consistent with it, and big things happen.
Yes.
And that is right on with that. Unsubscribing to 5 senders per day. Now, once you get your inbox, more manageable, kind of down where you want it to be, then it takes on a different shape. But to get yourself more into that manageable number, that is like the first thing to do.
I think too, once you get it to a more manageable number, you can get on the other side of email. That is kind of exciting. And I never thought about this until a friend gave me a shift to it. I was like, I don't want to dive into my emails. And all she said was a quick little quip. She goes, I love diving into my emails. I don't know what's in there. And I was like, what? And it must have just laid on my heart, because I was like, and so then I started and it was just a quip. She said, I love mine. So now when I do get into my email, I think that I'm like, what could be in here that's an opportunity or something exciting? And so it's just that tiny thing. And so when we manage our email boxes and get it to a level where we're like, okay, this is manageable. What if you actually started looking forward to what might be in there?
Right. Yeah. Right. Because once you get rid of that, the heaviness of all of the things of, oh, geez, there's so much in here, then you can make that mind shift into, I wonder what is in here. What do I get to respond to today? What do I get to read today?
I love it. Okay. So let's talk now about what if it was less than 100. So we're not overwhelmed with the 1,000. We're like narrowing that down. And actually one more question there. What if we have 14,000? What do you recommend? Do they bail on the email address and just start a new one?
If it is your work account, if your business account, no, I don't think so. I think it is just put on your big girl pants and just do this. And because the reason why I say that is because I think that if you're letting and this is permission, this is not this in no way is set out of any sort of judgment, because we all get to this, but if you're getting to that point where there's 14,000 emails in your inbox, there's probably something else that's happening. And usually it's avoidance. It's I just need to avoid it. Okay. So you can start a new email, new inbox, but I would bet that it's going to turn into the same thing over time.
So we do need to address, there might be some underlying things of avoidance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just want to lay that out there.
And I think a lot of it too is just like easy little tips. Like start unsubscribing from things.
Yep.
And if you are a big one, I'm a big coupon person and I love to see what the sales are, but I have a Gmail account that I send when I sign up for things that are non-business related. That's the email that I use. So like that's where like all my, Hy-Vee ads and my Bath and Body Works, all of that goes to that Gmail account. So that I
smart.
know. Yep. So that I know, okay, it's time for work. I'm going into this email. And if it's, I want to go shop or I want to see what's on sale, then I'm going to that account.
Okay, interesting. I always think it's important to mention. So I love that that's your method. That's a good pro tip. I actually have an email box that has both personal and business. Mine goes all in the same spot. But the only way I'm able to do that is because I've followed Tiffany's method for 10 years. Yeah. But it is getting to a size now, especially with college stuff for Gus and the sheer amount of like sports stuff. I'm like, now I can see why I need to be able to separate these two. So I might be getting theirs too. Well, I might be getting there as well.
Yeah. But now I do have to say, so like when my kids were at home, all of their school things, it all came into one email account, just like yours, because I knew that it was things that I need to look at every day. Yeah. So
that's my fear is like, well, I remember it's out there, but if it's for coupons and stuff, that would be smart.
Yeah. Just to move it into a separate account, but things like for, whether it's like whatever qualifies in your brain as something that you want to see every day. If that's kids, if that's healthcare, if that's, whatever it might be, send it into your main email account.
True. Okay. So we got the people that have the bulk amount. What about if you have less than 100 emails? What are some tips for maintaining the clean inbox?
So what I love to do with that is you've got yourself under 100. And so you like to maintain a relatively clean. This is where I fall in, by the way, because I am not a fan of the zero inbox. Then we can talk about that later.
But we have to talk about that. Like keep it on the 100, okay?
But I fall into that under 100. And there's a couple different reasons. Sometimes it's a season of more just from clients. It's a time when I just naturally get more email. And so sometimes I fall into that. Sometimes it's just because, right? Yep. What I like to do when I get to that 100 email is to do the folder setup. So setting up folders, creating folders on the left-hand side of your inbox that are really specific in what you're naming them. So it can be, using your example, Gus College. Knowing that you're the only one using that inbox. So it's being very specific on what you're naming. So you're not guessing. Like what would you name something so that you know what you're looking for?
I know this is such a pro tip though, because the perfectionist is like, we're going to name it blah, blah, blah. And you're like, no, you have to name it. And so in layman's terms, you look at it and you go, I know what this is. Yes. Like some of my email folders that I've set up with your method. One is called praise, because it's like rocket fuel of some testimony of somebody we've coached or something like that. Or it might be like they love their purse. So I put that under praise. If I'm having a blue day, I'm like, okay, look, you're still making a difference. Another one I've labeled notes. Seems very official, right? But then I know, okay, that was note taking from a meeting. And so I love that idea is that it doesn't, so the perfectionists that are out there and are listening, it doesn't have to be a perfect name on the folder. What will make the most sense to you?
Right. Because we don't need to be playing games with ourselves. Right.
Right. We got enough other games to solve. Yes.
We're just going to name it. We're going to name it what if we're in a hurry, look at it this way. If you're in a hurry and you sit down and you're looking for an email, where would you look for it? what would you call it? What would you, so if you're looking for, Gus College and the emails that come in and you funnel them over into that folder, just know that that's where they're at. And then sadly, there will come a day when you no longer need that folder.
Oh, let's not talk about it. Right.
And then you can delete that folder.
That was my follow-up question. Okay, so we're under 100 emails, or we get 100, let's say we've got 100 in there, and we're like, I need to do the approach. I need to move some of these into folders because they don't have to be responded to today, but I need to keep them. So you move them into the folders.
Yes.
Then how do you know at one point when you're like, okay, well, now I just have 40 folders?
Right. So for instance, I keep a list. Each of my clients has a folder on the side. In addition to, I have some personal ones and so forth. I know when to get rid of a folder when I no longer have that client. So for me, it's okay. They've either graduated out of a program or they are no longer a client. There's really no reason for me to keep those emails. I don't go back through and look through the emails. I don't go back and get nostalgic about anything. I click and delete, and it's gone.
Hey, encouragers, are you tired of feeling overwhelmed by information overload? Do you crave clarity and purposeful progress? Less of a fire hose and more of a slow drip? Let me introduce you to the Clarity Blueprint membership community. It's a place where women just like you gather to transform their lives from chaos to clarity. We take purposeful steps each month so you can see results and not get overwhelmed. Imagine this, twice a month, you'll join a supportive group of like-minded women on a journey to make progress in smaller, more edible bites than another huge commitment of time or energy. Our sessions are designed to help you cut through the noise, set meaningful goals, and take actionable steps toward progress. Think of it like your podcast listening with additional support. You'll get access to our monthly calls, worksheets, videos, guest speakers, resources, and a fun community that's cheering you on every step of the way. Say goodbye to overwhelm and hello to purposeful progress immediately. We promise to keep it simple yet impactful and very affordable. Visit theencouragerpodcast.com, click on the tab Clarity Blueprint, and become a member today. You can join at any point, and we can't wait to see who's going to walk along this journey with us.
So tell us how much permission we need to use the trash button.
Oh, you have all the permission, but you know what? Just do it because it's so freeing to know that it's gone. Now, here's another pro tip that I would say is if you are still receiving emails, if you're under 100, this is great. If you're over 100, it's a really great little mind game to play with yourself of, I can't hit the delete button just yet. I cannot delete this yet. Create a little folder on the side of your inbox and name it delete on, pick like a week out, put a date on it.
Oh.
Move the emails from your inbox into the folder that you're just not quite sure that you can hit the delete button on. You're just not sure, but it's kind of an out of sight, out of mind thing. Let them reside over there. And if within a week you're not looking for that email, you didn't need it anyway, right? So then you can just go delete the whole folder. If you've not been in there in a week, and don't go back in looking for what it is, right? We're not cleaning out our closet and pulling out the shoes out of the Goodwill bag, right? We're not doing that to keep them. We're just getting rid of it. We're just deleting the folder and getting rid of it.
Well, that's what I was saying. It's a lot like our home system where we talk about decluttering because that is part of your home system. And so our Goodwill method is we have, or charity, whatever it is that we have a pile and they're allowed for 7 days to take out of it. Because I do have some that are like, no, I was in a moment and I actually want it back. Well, you got that. You got that for 7 days. 9.9% of the times, maybe 9.5% of the times, I'm able to take the whole thing. But I do say, okay, I'm taking it because this is what I'm afraid of. They're all going to need therapy later in life because their mom got rid of everything. So I'll be able to come back and like, no, I kept it for 7 days. So I do like the idea of this temporary deleting folder, because that maybe is like a baby step to our perfectionist or to whoever out there is like, I can't delete anything, or they're client led, service led.
Right.
Then you would have that ability. But I also like that you gave us permission of like, no, the project is done.
Right.
We're done. We get to delete. Okay.
Right. And honestly, if you think about it, it sits out in your trash. So until you empty your trash can, it's still out there.
Yeah.
But if you don't, it's out of sight, out of mind. If you don't see it sitting in your inbox and you don't see it labeled in a specific folder, you're not using it. You're not referencing it. You don't need it. Let it go.
Yeah. Let it go. You got enough other things on your plate.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go to the other concept, because I don't think that this is a pro tip. This is just an amazing concept that you said during our coaching call in whatever month. And I was like, oh my gosh, that gives so much permission. It's you don't have to have a zero inbox.
Yeah.
So tell us about that, because I didn't realize people were pushing that in certain fields or programs or coaching, if you will.
Yeah. There is this whole thought process, and I cannot remember the name of the person that actually, there's a whole book about it, about the pros of why you should have a zero inbox. And if you just sit with that for a minute and feel what that feels like, of what would that mean for me? First, if you were to get to zero inbox, you'd be like, yep. And then like 2 seconds later, you would have a notification, then there'd be something in there. It's a whole lot of work. It's a whole lot of work to continue to have a zero inbox.
Yeah.
And even if you set rules up, the filters up, where you never see the inbox, the email actually come into your inbox, they just appear like at a client folder or whatever folder you set up on the site. You can set up those filters.
Oh,
it's still not true. It's still not true. It's still not true that you have a zero inbox. You just aren't seeing them in the main inbox. So you're still playing tricks on yourself. It's still not
a little smoky. Remember, we'll blow the smoke off any concept that isn't doable.
Yeah.
That's still a little bit foggy. Well, technically.
And really, in different seasons, we all have the seasons of when we're busier with an inbox than others. It's just not doable. It's a whole lot of energy that can be spent elsewhere.
Yeah, that feels like a ridiculous non-winning game. Because I try to gamify things too, and I'm like, nope, I'd be totally in that. And then like, this is dumb. I'm just checking my emails every 3 minutes.
Yeah, and that's not even a fun game to play, because you're going to win. You don't stand a chance. And honestly, I mean, who has that time?
To
sit in your inbox.
So there's just an amazing concept and permission, you guys. It doesn't have to be a zero inbox. Yeah. Okay, so do you have anything else that's tangible that we can do with keeping our inbox manageable?
Yes. So I would say probably the biggest tip that I would have is not checking your email until you're actually ready to respond.
Okay, hold on, everybody, pause. Like, seriously, how many times are we waiting 2 or 3 minutes? And I time everything. We're like, I'm just going to check email quick. What are you actually doing? You're just checking what's there, but you don't necessarily have time to respond. So it's just, again, that mental bandwidth of like, it's there. And then you're like, wait, keep that loop open, because when I get home, I do need to respond to that. Wait, keep that loop open. When I go home, I got to take action on that. I'm like, I heard you say that and my brain exploded. I was like, duh, only check it when you have the time to respond to it.
Yeah. And think about how many times, I'm totally guilty of it. How many times are you sitting in the bleachers somewhere even?
Oh, yeah.
And you're on your phone and you're like, well, you know what? The game hasn't started, or it's halftime, or it's, whatever. And I'm just going to check quick, and you're scrolling through just to see who's emailed you. Well, what difference does it make? Because unless you're going to respond to the email right then, like you said, it's just that open loop, that continual open loop of I have to remember. Even if you flag your email to respond to it later. Yeah. There's
totally guilty. Yes.
Oh, me too.
You also gave me so much permission back in the day when my kiddos were really little. Tiffany said she didn't have her email on her phone. And I was like, now this was time when that was more needed. I don't know that we can do that anymore. But anyways, I remember thinking, oh, yay. So I didn't do it. And I bet I didn't have email on my phone for probably 3 or 4 years. You know, it wasn't 10 years or anything like that. But it was so helpful in the life of raising little ones that I was like, yeah, I can't respond to it right now anyways. Oh, and then the other pro tip, again, I've learned all of these from Tiffany over the last 10 years, probably longer than that, is that, okay, so first, you don't have to have email on your phone. That was an old thing. I don't know that we can even do that anymore. But okay, so I had that one. And then the other one was don't check your email unless you're able to respond. Mm-hmm. And then the third one was you are teaching people how to treat you by the hour you respond at.
Yeah.
So like be really conscious of that, because if you respond within 2 to 3 minutes, you just taught them that you're always available. And I was like, oh, and that was such a huge concept for me of like, no, I do not want that. And you're like, okay, well then you respond at an appropriate hour when you are ready to respond, because otherwise you're going to have that immediate boom, 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 boom. And we've all worked with people that are more like that and showed them grace. But it did help me too with how I expect people to respond to my emails. It's like, okay, let's make sure it's in appropriate times.
Yes. Just in the normal season of things that are happening. Yes, it's all about you're teaching them. If you are going to respond to email at 11 o'clock at night, oh, hey, they're still up and I'm up too. So let's start an email conversation.
Well, we got to tell the listeners to go back and listen to the other podcasts that I've had with Tiffany on the appropriateness of email responding and things too, because that we did back that up too with a lot of like what is appropriate and that sort of thing, so that you don't get trapped in email conversations. We talked a lot about email conversations. So go listen to that podcast, because that'll help you know what an email conversation is. It's just back and forth text messages through email. It doesn't work well. It doesn't work well. Okay, well, we covered so much today. We covered if you're over 100 emails, maybe you're close to the 1,000, to the 14,000. Or let's say you're like at 100 and you just want better management. So we talked about doing folders on the side, being able to respond when you're like, check your email when you're able to respond. Do you have anything else for our listeners, Tiffany, that you're like, I just want to remind you of this? Like, how can you encourage us?
I just want to remind you to have grace with yourself and to be patient with yourself.
Yeah.
But you have to know, because Rebecca and I are big, huge fans of time blocking.
Yes. Yes, we are.
I would really encourage you to take some time, start, it doesn't even have to be today. Start tomorrow and build in 15 minutes of your day each day, and do something with your inbox. Do something with your email, because lots can be done in 15 minutes a day over the course of even just a couple of weeks. You're going to see a huge shift. And it's not just a visible shift in your inbox. It's going to be a mental shift.
Oh, for sure.
Mental and visual are, man, they're so linked together. So
I'm a big fan of this word, we have to do the work. But the work that Tiffany and I are telling are fairly easy, practical steps that, again, you can take immediate after this. So do the unsubscribe from 5, maybe, or you could do that, or you could create some folders. And then you can also block in, that's the immediate actions here, block in the 10 to 15 minutes a day to start addressing your inbox. We don't need to bail on it. We just need to clean it up. And everybody listening here, you guys are so overwhelmingly capable of doing this.
Yeah.
Like, do you not think that you click this because you're like, wait a minute, I do have a little bit of an email problem. And I think we have 2 other episodes on email together.
Yeah.
So,
it's a big thing.
Yes, it is. And it's here to stay. And email is a very good communicator. And what if you got to the stage where you opened up your email because you're excited for the opportunities that might be in there?
Right.
That's a dangling carrot, is like that. Actually, that's a dangling carrot, but more so like when you're cooking supper and you're going to a game or whatever, you're not thinking about your inbox. That's the bigger carrot, like, right?
And even thinking about it from, a business point of view. I mean, getting your email under control, whatever that means to you, getting it under control.
True.
There's that time management piece to it, because you're not thinking, okay, I know that Rebecca sent me an email. I just got to go out and Google her name because I don't even know where to start with what she sent me. So there's that time management piece, right? There's that organizational piece. There's the professional piece. There's the time sensitive communication, right? Because you talked about oh yeah, we're going live in 5 minutes. I didn't remember. I don't know. I don't have the link. I don't know what I'm supposed to be talking about, right? So there's that time sensitive piece. So there's that whole other professionalism piece of having your inbox under control. That's not to put pressure on you. That's just to kind of reiterate that it is important. It's not just a communication tool. No. It's a professional communication tool that you do need to get under control, whatever that means to you.
Yeah. And the clarity on the other side of it is just so like fruitful, like we said, you'll just be able to see that it is manageable, it is possible. So it's worth the steps to get there because of the clarity you'll have.
Right. And that 15 minutes a day, just that total mind shift that you can get it under control. You can make your inbox what you want it to be. It doesn't just have to be something that they just continually roll into your inbox. Right. You can totally get it under control.
And I would like to tell you to take our practice. Both of us really believe in pairing. And I've had several podcasts on that. So pair this 15 minutes with something that you already do during the day. So this may be your second cup of coffee, or maybe this is the 2:30 hour where you're like, okay, I'm going to clean it up for 15 minutes before I go pick up kiddos, whatever, but pair it with something that happens pretty much no matter what. Like you have to do that. And then my other pro tip is like set a timer that goes off at 2:30 and it's labeled cleanup inbox for just 15 minutes. Now, this would not be the responding type. This would just be the cleanup type, correct?
Right. And I like that last tip of my time to usually clean up my inbox is I hit a lull kind of in that 3:00 hour. And I just always have. And it's a very unproductive time for me. It's not a creative time for me. So that's generally when I go 3 to 3:15. And that's when my inbox cleanup is because I'm not responding to anything. I really don't have to put much energy towards it. There doesn't have to be, a lot of focus. It's a very easy time to do something that I can be productive when I don't really feel productive.
Yeah. Okay, I love that. Okay, encouragers, if you enjoyed what you're listening to and all of our tips for your inbox, guess what? Tiffany and I have an awesome community that we've been operating. And it's so fun that a lot of our testimonies and things that we're sharing is from our awesome students in the Clarity Blueprint. And during this podcast, I'm sure you heard our little blip about it. So if you'd like to join that, go to theencouragerpodcast.com. Click on the Clarity Blueprint tab. We'd love to have you be a part of it. We just do 2 hours of coaching a month. It's practical things you can implement immediately. And it's not a ton of content. We do have planned content that you can act on immediately, but you won't be overwhelmed by it. So please, you guys, check that out. And then also, as you're doing this and you're noticing people around you are maybe getting annoyed at the amount of times you're talking about email or how much clarity you think, you guys throw us under the bus. We're always like, nope, just tell them it's your coach, Becca and Tiffany. We're like, I have to do this. Mom, your alarm's going off again. Well, I have to do this because my coach has told me. Go ahead. Use us as your scapegoat, but do make the difference. Because sometimes when you make a change, it's a little uncomfortable and it's hard to like stand on your own 2 feet and be like, yeah, I'm making this change. Just throw us. We'll be the 2 that stand strong. And we're like, nope, we're making her do this because she'll feel better afterwards. So go ahead and do that, you guys. Okay. Thank you so much, Tiffany. It's such a pleasure. Again, I've been using your methods for 10 years. It totally works. I hope you guys listen to this again and pick up on more of those pro tips. Okay. Thank you so much, encouragers. Until next time, we got this because he's got us.
Thanks so much for tuning in. If the Encourager podcast has helped or encouraged you in any way, please subscribe to the show and leave a 5-star review. And then help us spread the message of encouragement and hope by sharing the podcast with others. Until next time, encouragers, we got this.